Welcome to the Fantasy Football Forge. It is time to wrap up Rankings Day with the quarterbacks. Just some quick boilerplate material. Here are the matchup temperature gauge for the players. This is built off of a few different factors, including like the Las Vegas lines and other things like a matchup rating as well. Like you saw the exact matchup rating for the running backs and wide receivers that goes into these. And I explained it is a little bit different for the other positions. That includes, I explained that in the tight end video, so you can see it there. As far as the floors and the ceilings go, this isn't a hey, there's a high percentage chance that they're going to hit the ceiling or go above it or below it, and I do have those statistics from last year when I tracked it down here in the what I am looking at section, so you can always see that there. I have all of these rankings put up onto the website, updated for the week on Thursday at www.theFFforge.com. Link is down in the description, so you can see more on that. Same with the expected ranges as explained down there, but it hits at about a 60% rate that players will fall within that range, with a little bit of a built-in margin of error is included in that. Other than that, today what we are doing is just going to talk a little bit about players who I have, I am in a significant difference with compared to the ECR, that is the expert consensus rankings, which are from Fantasy Pros as of yesterday on Tuesday, and I have my rankings over here. And I was able to get a little bit of help to make my rankings. So these are going to be more closely to my final projections, but these are not my final projections. And you can see my absolute final projections with me live an hour before kickoff on Sundays. That is where you for sure will see what I'm sitting with. Sometimes I change a player or something during the show, but that is it. And there's not a lot of people that come through on there, so I'm available if you are desperate to get an question answered and you're sitting there with the thousands and thousands of people in some of those popular channels typing your question in a few times trying to get it answered. It's coming down to the wire. Well, come pop on over and then just give me a shot. Let's just get started here with the number one wide quarterbacks that I have ranked. Starting out number one, I have Lamar Jackson, followed by Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, Geno Smith, Jimmy Garoppolo, Dak Prescott, Derek Carr, Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers. Going back to the wow here. I hate it. If you're an Aaron Rodgers owner, you're probably not starting him, right? Let me know. Let me know if you've been sticking with him or what you're doing, because it's just such a nice matchup this week against Washington, so I'm curious. And let's start off here talking about Tua Tagovailoa, who I have 9 spots ahead of the ECR. I have him ranked at 4. The ECR on him is 13. You can see the guys I have above ECR by a significant portion, but you can see all of the difference over here. And the plus means that I'm above ECR. Negatives mean I'm below it. Green means significantly different via my subjective cutoff point for this week. So with Tua, obviously, my projections really did love him here. Going up against Pittsburgh, really good matchup. I know they did pretty good last week, but that's just a different... It's Tom Brady. It's a different offense. It's at a different level this season than Miami has been under Tua. So I really like Tua to come back and have a good game. As you can see, it's a slightly warm matchup. It was probably better than before last week, and not the best floor here out of guys, so there is a little bit of risk with him apparently, but I am not too afraid of that. Then let's move on to Justin Herbert, who I have 3 spots behind the ECR. The ECR on him is 3. I have him at 6. Well, I mean, it's not a huge thing. My projections are still catching... he hasn't had a great season, essentially is what it comes down to. Where I can never find him on here. So it is a good matchup as far as the heating gauge goes for Justin Herbert. There's a lot of factors working in favor of him hitting at the higher end of this expected range or hitting his ceiling and going above it. But I guess for whatever reason, the factors are not working super in favor of him having a huge game And so I just mitigated that a little bit with what I think is a safer play here in Kyler, and just obviously a much better projected play here with Tua, and I'm comfortable with that. Then Jimmy Garoppolo, I have 3 spots ahead of ECR. The ECR on him is 11. I have him at 8, so he is in starting territory. That is why he made it at the top of my list here, going up against Kansas City, as far as I recall. Where are you, Jimmy? Yeah, going up against Kansas City this week, so it should be a lot of passing opportunities. That defense is still going to be banged up, so I spoke a lot about that on the waiver wire video if you want to hear more on him, but that's the essential things of it. As I stated last week, I thought it was going to be a little better week for him because there'd be more passing, and his receiving options I like more currently with that banged up defense, and the running back I like less. That is just how it goes, and it's going up against Kansas City this week, so sky's the limit for Jimmy, as much as the sky can be the limit for him. Then Tom Brady, I have at 11, 5 spots below the ECR. He is currently ranked 6th by the experts on average, and I just... let's see here. The matchup's not working in his favor. It's a good matchup here against Carolina, you would think, but apparently with how teams have been beating them, like, I just don't see the ceiling for Tom Brady, but I like the floor. And so that's where some of these guys I just put above him, but I think he's a good play this week. I have no issues with him. So let's just move right on to the quarterback 2s, starting off at 13 with Daniel Jones, followed by Matt Ryan, Marcus Mariota, Trevor Lawrence, Jared Goff, Jacoby Brissett, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, Ryan Tannehill, Mitch Trubisky, Taylor Heineke, and Zach Wilson to round those out. My projection's still loving Zach Wilson, man. I don't... What's going on here? I don't get this. But that happens often with enough with my projections, and often enough I get made a fool by them for questioning it. So at some point, that's where I end up, I do listen to him to some extent. So starting off with Daniel Jones, I have him 3 spots ahead of the ECR. I have him at 13. ECR on him is 16, and my projections really liked him. Not the best of matchups here for Jacksonville. As you can see, it's slightly in the blue, but there's a really, really good floor that he offers with his running upside. So I like that. The projections liked that, apparently. And it just feels like another kind of safe-ish play compared to some of these other guys, like one that we'll be getting into right there. So we'll start off before that with Trevor Lawrence, who I have ranked 16th. The ECR in him is 9. 7-spot difference there. So last week, I guess I got made a fool of Trevor Lawrence because he ran the ball into the end zone twice for 2 touchdowns. So that's an extra 4 points there. You take away those 4 points, and it was just suddenly a normal game if he even just threw those in, and it was more looking like a game closer to where I had him projected. And other than that, though, his stat line was not pretty. It wasn't that good, and I don't expect him to be running in 2 touchdowns every week, much less any touchdowns every week. I'm surprised that that the experts have him so high. It's a neutral-ish matchup there in the white. Not the worst ceiling. Expected range is just a little under neutral there. So really, what's propping him up is those rushing touchdowns. I can guarantee you that from what I'm looking at in here. So yeah, I'm not loving Trevor this week, but I'm fine with him. I'm fine with quarterbacks all the way. Is Justin Fields might be about my cutoff this week. Here, let's move on to Jared Goff, who I have ranked as 17. The ECR in him is 20, so I have him 3 spots higher than the ECR. Not a huge difference. My projections really, really liked him this week, but as you can see, that floor is ice cold for him. The matchup's not exactly great. We know that. Going up against Dallas, it can be a struggle. He does have one of the best weapons, and his connection with that weapon is good to help offset Dallas's rush. That would be Amon-Ra St. Brown. And same with if DeAndre Swift is healthy, that will really help. So this is a team that should be able to offset some of that pressure that Dallas can create, and then factors will work in favor for him. Once again, my projections loved him quite a bit there. I don't so much. I'm in a little bit of a disagreement with them. And so there are just some players that I just feel a little bit more safe with over him. But I'm I'm not trying to replace him this week if he's my quarterback. And Justin Brissett is another guy who I feel safe with this week, but I'll just take that upside for Jared Goff at that point. And the same, Justin Fields has a nice floor. Then Russell Wilson, I have ranked 20th, 6 spots below the ECR at 14. He just got another injury. Are we really suggesting for people to potentially play him? I mean, he looked good for, a couple drives. I don't get it. It's an ice cold matchup over here going up against the New York Jets for quarterbacks. Factors are not necessarily working in favor for him. I assume the point total for that game is probably pretty darn low. The floor for him is okay. So that's a good thing. That's all I got. Then Mitch Trubisky, I have 7 spots ahead of the ECR. Can I defend this? Let's see. Slightly warm matchup here. And yeah, decent ceiling, decent floor for him in this matchup going up against Miami. Lots of opportunities. He looked good when he came back last week. So we'll see if he's the starter this week. I think that is the expectation as far as the last time that I looked at news updates. So that's all I've got. I mean, there's an upside to him that I prefer. Tyler Heineke has some of that upside, not quite. I would just trust Mitch in that, what I expect to be a higher scoring matchup at the very least. Then Zach Wilson, I have 3 spots below the ECR. I'm at 24. ECR in him is 21. And as I pointed out earlier, pretty loved by my projections. So I don't know what everybody's seen. I would not want to trust Zach Wilson this week. If I could not trust him, that would be good. And the final 4 quarterbacks on the week are Andy Dalton, Mac Jones, Davis Mills, and P.J. Walker. And you will see, Mac Jones is not a guaranteed start this week. So even though there's only 28 quarterbacks, right, starting this week, 4 teams are off. So there's a little bit of he'll probably move down. Like the ranking on him is faulty, is what I'm trying to get at. So we'll see. But I just, at this point, went with my projections in the order that I ended up putting them. Davis Mills in a red-hot matchup there, I'll point out, against Las Vegas. So, yeah. Who's taking it? That's all I have for the rankings this week. Thank you so much. If you liked what you got, do something YouTubey, and that's appreciated. If not, I don't hate you. I still want you to come by and visit me for the videos. Bye.